Dorian Gray was blessed with the kind of beauty that makes strangers turn their heads, and friends forgive sins they would condemn in anyone else. He was charming, elegant, and breathtakingly young, and he loved being adored for it. But Oscar Wilde doesn't present beauty as a blessing. He presents it as a temptation. And Dorian Gray, from the very beginning, is a young man standing at the edge of a very dangerous desire. The story begins in the London studio of Basil Hallward, a painter fascinated, almost obsessed, with Dorian. Basil believes Dorian's beauty isn't just physical. It seems to reflect purity, innocence, something noble. A kind of beauty that could make art immortal. Basil wants to preserve it, to honor it, to protect it from the world. But then, Lord Henry Wotton enters the studio, and everything changes. Lord Henry is witty, intelligent, and terribly cynical. He preaches a seductive philosophy, that the only real purpose in life is pleasure. That morality is a social invention. That emotions are temporary distractions. And that youth, that fleeting, fragile youth, is the single greatest treasure a human being will ever possess. Youth is the only thing worth having, he tells Dorian. And when you lose it, you lose everything. In that moment, something cracks open inside Dorian. A fear he has never felt before. He looks at his portrait, perfect, radiant, untouched by time, and he is struck by a horrifying realization. One day, that portrait will still be young, while he, the living version, will grow old, will wrinkle, will fade. In a moment of despair, Dorian makes a wild, thoughtless wish. That the painting should bear the burden of his age and sin, while he remains forever young. It is a childish wish, spoken in emotion, not belief. And yet, Wilde makes it reality. From that moment forward, Dorian Gray does not age. Not by a single day. But the portrait does. Slowly, quietly, almost imperceptibly at first, the canvas begins to absorb the story of his soul. At first, Dorian tries to live as he always has. But Lord Henry's words take root. His hunger for pleasure becomes stronger. His conscience becomes quieter. He discovers he has power, intoxicating power, because beauty makes people forgive cruelty, and wealth makes people excuse wrongdoing. One night, Dorian meets a young actress named Sybil Vane. She is sweet, innocent, and deeply talented. Her performances are so captivating that Dorian sees her as art itself, an object of beauty, not a woman with a heart. They fall into what he calls love, though it would be more truthful to call it possession. He promises her marriage, a future, a life. She believes him. She gives herself to him completely. But everything shatters when Sybil performs poorly on stage one night. Nervous, overwhelmed, human. Dorian is disgusted. He ridicules her, tells her she has ruined everything he loved about her. In a few cruel sentences, he destroys the person who adored him most. Sybil kills herself that night. Out of heartbreak, humiliation, hopelessness. When Dorian hears the news, he feels a spark of guilt. A brief, human moment of recognition that someone's death rests on his shoulders. But Lord Henry dismisses it, turning tragedy into philosophy, arguing that Sybil's death is simply a dramatic ending to a mediocre romance. And Dorian chooses pleasure over remorse. When he goes to look at his portrait the next morning, he sees something horrifying. A faint twist to the mouth, a hint of cruelty that wasn't there before. The painting has changed. Days turn into months, months into years. Dorian Gray lives a life of extravagant pleasure, fashionable dinners, opium dens, expensive gifts, forbidden relationships. He seduces, manipulates, then discards people like broken toys. And every time he commits another sin, his face remains perfect, smooth, unlined, angelic. The portrait, however, becomes increasingly monstrous. People begin whispering about Dorian. They speak of the strange tragedies, the ruined reputations, the broken lives that follow in his wake. Some say he is corrupt beyond measure. Others say he is misunderstood. But all agree on one strange fact. He looks exactly like he did at 20. Basil Hallward, who has remained loyal and protective, confronts Dorian. He wants to save him. He wants the rumors to be false. He wants Dorian to be the good, innocent soul he believed he once was. Dorian, driven by arrogance, shows him the portrait. The horror on Basil's face is immediate. He begs Dorian to pray, to repent, to turn back before it's too late. But Dorian, full of rage and shame, murders him, staining his hands with blood and staining the painting with the reality of violence. From this moment on, Dorian's life spirals into darker chaos. He tries to drown his guilt with substances, with parties, with noise, anything to keep him from hearing the echo of Basil's voice. But the portrait continues to decay, reflecting the truth he tries so desperately to escape. The painting is no longer simply ugly. It is grotesque, deformed, vicious. It is not a portrait of a man anymore, but a portrait of a monster. Eventually, Dorian makes a desperate decision. Not to change, but to erase. He convinces himself that if he destroys the painting, he can destroy the evidence of his sins. If he can remove the reflection of who he has become, he can return to the mask, the lie, the fantasy of innocence. So, in a moment of madness, he takes a knife, the same knife with which he killed Basil, and stabs the portrait. The servants rush into the locked room when they hear the scream. They find a perfect, youthful painting hanging on the wall. And beside it, a dead man, hideous, wrinkled, twisted, unrecognizable. Only his rings identify him as Dorian Gray. The portrait was never the curse. It was the truth. Dorian thought he could separate the body from the soul, the appearance from the consequence. But the soul always keeps score. And eventually, reality always returns. Oscar Wilde's story is a gothic tragedy, but it is also a philosophical warning. Beauty can make people adore you. Privilege can make people protect you. But neither can save you from what you truly are. Dorian Gray lived a life without remorse, without responsibility, without restraint. He believed pleasure was freedom. He believed youth was power. He believed consequences were optional. But in the end, the painting revealed what he refused to see, that every choice leaves a mark. Every cruelty shapes us. Every sin stains us. And no matter how long we delay accountability, it will eventually come, and it will be final. We all live with a portrait inside us. Not painted with pigment, but with the truth of our actions. And while we may hide it from the world, we cannot hide it from ourselves, forever.